Okay. Hello, everybody. Having Zoom issues. It's been a while since I've had to use this. Okay, so I just wanted to show you guys what 31 does. Um, and the reason for that is so people that are coming into 31 know what they can expect, and people that are coming into 32, which is intermediate painting, should know about where they should be before they attempt intermediate painting, because it is recommended that you take Art 31 beginning oil painting before you take the 32, and you're going to see why in a second. Okay. So I'm showing you examples of the first painting that we do in class. Okay. So um, this is a multiple step painting. This is the finished version of that first painting, and you can see that it is achromatic, black and white. So that means we're just dealing with values in here. There's a little bit of brown that you can see there. That's because of the underpainting that we use. So in this painting, you're going to explore the way to properly build an oil painting and how various paint qualities can inform what you can do with the materials. So this painting starts off with a value rendering. So with 31s, it's important that you've had for Santa Monica, it's 20A. Okay, so that's beginning drawing. But if you've had beginning drawing anywhere else, some type of drawing class, and you know the fundamentals of representation, that is observational drawing, then you should be okay. But you should be able to draw something because it isn't so much that people have problems painting when they're in the painting class, it's that they have issues with their drawing. So if we can get those, dispense with those issues, that's when you take 20A, then it should be smooth sailing. Now you start the painting with a value rendering to scale. That means this drawing is the same size that the painting is going to be on paper. It doesn't, shouldn't probably be in ink, but this is the preferred media of that particular person. And then you can see here they're underpainting. So this is an underpainting. It's a tonal painting. It's monochromatic in that it's all raw umber, and that's it. There's nothing else in there. So what you see here is in the shadow areas, the darkest areas of paint, um, that is where you have the most paint. Where it gets lighter, you have less paint. The paint is thinned out in painting with the painting medium. Okay. So you're going to learn about, oil paint and how to use painting mediums and how to use solvents and things like that in this class. But that's what's going on in this painting. So you can see something like that where it's really light, has hardly any paint in it at all. It's mostly just the medium itself on top of the primed canvas. And then here you can see this is the achromatic overpainting, where we're painting on top of that underpainting. And now it's the opposite, that the shadow areas are the thinnest areas of paint and the light areas are the thicker areas of paint. And now you're going to see a bunch of examples of that. So the underpainting, overpainting, underpainting, overpainting, underpainting, overpainting. That is actually not raw umber, it's burnt sienna, but there you go. And this one's really nice because you can really see in the shadow areas the transparency, and it does give the cup sort of a translucency. And then that's the final one. Very active background. Okay, so that's the first painting you do. Then the second painting you do is going to be a landscape painting. And I invite you to go through these on your own. You can look at these, all these gallery pages will show you what exactly is involved. So this is going to be not just the first, or sorry, the second painting, but also the third painting. So it's going to have the landscape, and it's also going to be a still life, which is going to, it says Venetian still life because it's basically the technique of the Venetian Renaissance. So you're going to be learning various styles of painting, historical styles of painting, which is kind of one of the requirements of the course, not just for Santa Monica itself, but for the transferable nature of it. They like to have a historical context. So that's why we do deal a lot with art history in here. So anyway, this is the landscape. Now you're going to notice this is a reduced palette, so it is really with only a few hues, and in hues meaning the color. So this painting only employs blue and red and probably a little bit of orange, and that's all. Okay, to get the colors that you're seeing in here. Same thing here. And this is mostly green and red. So they're achieving the neutrals with mixing the green and red together with white. This is a red that's been muted by adding some green to it and some white. Then they cheated a little bit over here and added yellow, but it's definitely a reduced palette. Okay, if you've been to the Getty, you might recognize that image. It's also a really good demonstration of how this is definitely just the two colors. So somebody who's following directions, so they're using just green and red, and they've muted the color in there in the background. So they made this sort of gray looking sky by mixing the green and the red with the white. So you will learn about color mixing in this class. The 32s should already know about color mixing, so that's a sort of a big deal. I'm going fast. Like I said, you can go back and look at these on your own. This one is just monochromatic, so that means it's just one hue, in this case green, mixed with grays. That used to be an option, but it became, I don't know, too easy. So I wanted to make it a little bit more complicated for folks. Then this is what we call the Venetian still life. So this is where you're going to be learning how to model form, but also add color to the form. And it is, yes, sort of a cliche in a painting class to be doing a still life. You had to do a lot of them probably in your drawing class. But what is the reason why this is important is because it shows you how to first render form with just tones and then glaze color on top. So it's the technique that's the important thing. And it's applicable to later paintings that you're going to be doing that are going to involve the human figure, which is not in beginning painting, but in intermediate you will. And if you take Mark Trujillo's figure painting class, you'll be dealing with that. And a lot of nice textures in there. This painting was at a different school. Somebody stole it out of the display case at this other school. So they liked the painting so much they stole it. Hopefully that we, if we put any of your work in the display case, we have locked display cases at Santa Monica to prevent that from happening. So it isn't so much the end result. This student is right now at UCLA, by the way. Um, she's a multimedia major, not just a painting major. She did say something interesting to me. Um, she has taken a painting class at UCLA, and the person teaching the painting class at UCLA, this isn't true of all the classes there, but at this particular class, this particular painting class at UCLA, the teacher was not a painter. Okay, so you're in a painting class with a teacher who's not a painter. And so when this student had a question about something that she was working on in a painting, she asked this teacher a question about technique, and the answer was, "Well, you should go and get yourself into a beginning painting class." So that's, what should uh, a lot of students actually do come from UCLA, if they need to brush up on skills, okay, they come to SMC, okay, to do that. Because once you get to UCLA, they expect that you have all your skills. They don't, it's all about how you're using the skills and what the context is for using those skills. So it isn't a place where you learn technique. It's why it's so important. And so a lot of times students will come in and they want to skip straight to 32, skip 31, because I don't know why. Either they think they're more advanced or what. I myself do the beginning painting um, exercises. I mean, anybody will get something out of them. So don't think that you have to, you should skip this class if you've, had a little bit of painting experience. I think that it's good to have at least 2 units of painting. So if you take beginning painting and then you take intermediate, then that's like a whole year of painting. And that especially if that's what your major is going to be when you transfer, you really want to do that. Okay. And here you can see the underpainting first. So it's similar to that first painting we did, but different. It's giving you a tonal underpainting and then glazing color on top of it. And this is a technique that you can see in the Renaissance for sure. So Titian specifically, but um, Giorgione, all those people, Bernini, all those people, Bellini, sorry. And then later it goes into that French academic painting using the same techniques, okay, or French neoclassical painting, using the techniques of the Renaissance. So somebody like Ong, for example, will have an underpainting like this before he is doing his figurative paintings, such as Grand Odalisque, So if you know what that painting looks like, there's a version of it that looks like this too. Okay. So that's the second and third painting, and then we're going to see the homework painting, basically. So that is going to be the image collage painting. Okay, so here you can see the image collage painting. This is a homework painting. So the student is responsible for making a collage of images, okay, however they do that. They could do it in Photoshop. They could do it by actually cutting out magazine photos and putting them down on a surface. And then they will be making a painting from that. And you'll be making that painting completely on your, well, not completely on your own. You'll be working on it at home. But then it's midterm, you'll be bringing it in to me to show me that you've been working on it. And then it'll be due on the final. So this is the last painting that you turned in to me. And a lot of these folks did take me for beginning and intermediate. This person did for sure. You can see that by doing this technique, you could do something that's sort of surreal looking. So you can really sort of be, it's a way of being able to select your own subject matter, which you don't really get to do. Um, well, technically you do with the fruit painting, you're bringing in your own fruit, but you're bringing in your own objects, but it's where you could be a little bit maybe more creative in your choices with the images. This painting started with a simple magazine cutout and then made the rendering from that. This painting was featured in we had uh, a show that was at the Broad Stage during COVID. So it was actually in a parking lot. Birds in Moon is, I think, what Birds in the Moon, something like that. Anyway, we had the art department participating in that, and the paintings made in some of the art classes were then used for uh, display and promotion of that show. Okay, and then the last painting you do will be an abstract painting. And completely non-objective. And here we're going to be using scale for the first time. So, I mean, you're using scale always, but usually it's a medium or small scale. This is going to be a medium to large scale. By medium, I mean 3 feet by 4 feet. You can go larger than that if you like, but you get to really explore the possibilities of paint and color for that matter. But how paint works, what you can do with it, and really push and explore, which is, the way that you need to go about this painting. So some of these are from just last semester. These first few, I think, were from last semester. And these are the little bit later or earlier, I guess. You do have the option of exploring a little bit with collage in this. And we'll talk about methods for that. It is the class is beginning oil painting, and the finished surface that you see is oil painting. But in a painting, say like this, where there is some textural collage elements underneath, they've collaged paper, transparent paper in here. That is done with acrylic. So you can do an acrylic underpainting for this painting. In fact, it's recommended that you do, and then do oil on top. So the 32s get to start with this one. This is, I sent out over the break an image of an artist who's now, or student who's at UCLA right now, who had me for a lot of classes, but he definitely had me for beginning painting and intermediate painting, and is now at UCLA. And this is his abstract painting that he did for the beginning painting class. The thing that you take away from these is that even though all of them are not, don't have any representational imagery, that is, there's nothing recognizable in them, they all have a different feeling to them. And so that's where you get to really think about how the formal choices you make, that is, the color, the shape, the way that you're using space, the way that you're using emphasis and unity and variety and proportion, um, all those things, how that will inform the content of the work rather than just simply the motif, which is where most of the students want to focus. So a lot of people think there are two misconceptions about this. One is that there are no rules, okay, for abstraction, and that's not exactly true. There are you're still dealing with the rules of composition, and making any painting. And the other one is that it is meaningless, okay, because there's no images that you recognize. But I think you would agree that, music without lyrics can have an emotional content, right? And it's the same thing with a painting without, recognizable imagery. It can have an emotional content too, so that you can have some that are very active, um, and some that might seem more uh, calm. Okay, so those are two ways of achieving different ideas without using representational imagery. So something could also be like whimsical or maybe somber. These are a little bit on the more whimsical side, probably, or even use geometry. So the a geometric shape is still, it's not technically non-objective shape, but it can still function abstractly, right? So here you can see a variety of space here with overlap and things like that happening. So there is by space, I mean, the illusion of depth. So you do get a range of possibilities with these paintings, and it's a really worthwhile thing. I have had students, that have never done an abstract painting in their lives, and the first time they do it, they decide, oh, I'm an abstract painter now. And they're going to just keep doing it. They abandon the representational painting, which is fine. And I've also had students that have not great skills at drawing, but then were able to really flourish with this painting. And then I've had the opposite too, where somebody who is maybe not so great or really good at representation, really good at drawing, but they had a really hard time with this painting. Okay. Um, so hopefully you'll work through that problem. Everything in this class really is a problem, a studio problem. That's what we call them. And so it's your job to solve the problem. And also, but in doing that, to make something that, is a good painting, something that you would hang on your wall, which is sort of the criteria I have for my students as we get toward the end of this, is like, would you hang this on your wall? And if the answer is no, then there's something you need to do to it. Okay, so that's what 31 does. So hopefully you are informed, you're ready, you're happy, and you're eager to get started. And I'm eager to get started. So we will explore all these ideas and have a good class, I hope. It's a full class. There is absolutely no seats left, so that's always good. It's not great for when we're first starting because it's hard to find a spot in the room, but it'll probably thin out a little bit towards the middle of the semester. So um, we have that to look forward to. All right, so hopefully you are as excited as I am to get going. And I will see you soon. Bye.